What's up everyone, Andrew Baena here, and on today's video I'm going to be doing a demo of the Aristides 080 SR Evertune. More or less, this is the first guitar on the market that has a multi-scale Evertune, so we're going to be talking a lot about this in particular in this video. And of course we'll talk about all the other specs and features of this instrument. You just heard what it sounds like in a full demo mix, so I'm also going to show you how it sounds on its own. And then of course, last but not least, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on this guitar. Before we move on, I want to mention that this video is not sponsored by Aristides. However, they did send this guitar over to do a couple of videos with and then pass it along to someone else. I'm going to try my best to be as unbiased as possible like I always do, but I like to mention that before we go any further, just in case right up front so you know what's going on. Of course, I am a fan of these instruments and I've worked with them for a bunch of other videos. You know, I have 2 of their other 8 strings in the background here and then 2 of their other guitars, so I have 4 of these already. I'm a big fan of Aristides guitars, but nonetheless, that's not going to stop me from giving this thing its fair share of criticism if I feel like I need to. So before we talk about the specs and features of this guitar in particular, in case you're not aware of what Aristides Guitars is all about, pretty much they are known for making guitars out of all composite materials. So what that means is there are no wood components on these instruments. The body and neck is all one solid piece of injection molded aerium. Aerium is basically a composite material that Aristides developed, which simulates the properties of wood in both sound and weight. So yeah, it's not a bolt-on, it's not a neck through, it's not anything like that. It's literally one giant piece of aerium that has been injection molded. This one in particular has the black finish in the raw fashion, which means this is not painted, this is just the actual color of the guitar itself. And then as for the fretboard, this is also not made out of wood. This is another material called Richlite. Aristides doesn't develop this material. You can find that on a bunch of other guitars, but again, that's probably the main selling point of Aristides, is the fact that it's not made out of wood, so they're very stable and they hold up really nicely in all kinds of weather conditions and don't really need that much adjustment because they don't really move. And that's the biggest problem with wood, is it's always shrinking and expanding. And coupled with that, this one also has an Evertune, so you best believe this guitar better pretty much never go out of tune, because that's what it's designed to do. So now that you know about Aristides in general, let's talk about the specs and features of this guitar in particular. So this one is the 080 SR, which means it's an 8-string multi-scale build with that raw finish like I mentioned earlier. This one in particular has Lundgren Black Heaven pickups in both the bridge and neck position, and it has a 5-way pickup selector down there and a single volume knob. No push-pull on this one this time around. We of course have stainless steel frets on the fretboard with an Aristides logo on the 1st fret and then the 080 logo on the 12th fret with glow-in-the-dark Luminlay side dots on the side. Moving up to the headstock, we have a Graph Tech nut, as well as Hipshot open gear locking tuners up there. Last thing to mention about the neck is, like I said, this is a multi-scale build, meaning that the high E string is 26.5 inches and the low string is 28 inches. I might have mentioned that incorrectly in my unboxing video, but that is definitely the correct scale length this time around. My apologies if I caused any confusion. Words are hard. And then last but not least, of course, the biggest flex on this guitar is this giant bridge right here, which is an Evertune bridge. So there's a lot of questions going around about what exactly is going on here. If you're unfamiliar with what an Evertune bridge is in the first place, I have it on one of my other 8 strings that I use live all the time, because it is basically a bridge that was invented to pretty much make your guitar almost never go out of tune. Evertune bridges are awesome. I'm a huge fan. I would never go on tour without at least one guitar that has an Evertune bridge because they're so convenient. Literally most of the time, so my band plays live, I don't even check the tuning at all. I just plug my guitar in and assume it's in tune, and it almost always is. Which sounds like a huge risk, but I guarantee you it's that good that I feel confident doing that. So what Aristides has done is they have taken an official Evertune bridge, taken it completely apart, and modified the ever-living fuck out of it. So basically what they do is they take each individual string saddle, take it out of the official Evertune bridge, and then they've made their own version of the base plate, which is why it does not have the Evertune logo, because they basically developed this part by themselves. And they pretty much do like a little bit of a mashup between an official Evertune bridge and some of their own parts. This is all done in a very respectful way. Evertune is very aware of this, and they gave it their stamp of approval. So, you know, Aristides isn't doing anything sketchy, and it's not their own version of an Evertune bridge. It's basically an official Evertune bridge with some of their own parts parts that they developed to make it work with a fan fret build. If we flip the guitar over to the back, you can see this nice big clear backplate where you can see more of what's going on with the Evertune bridge right there. So the very loose explanation of how this bridge works is basically each individual string goes through a module that is constantly, taking and receiving tension. So as you do something like pick the string, it basically has a spring that's pulling it back to always be in tune. No matter how hard you pick, it's always going to compensate for that so that the string stays in tune. And yes, you can still bend with an Evertune bridge. As you saw in my demo portion at the beginning of this video, I made sure to write a song that used some bending notes because some people still think you can't bend with an Evertune, which is just simply not true. You can. So that pretty much covers all the specs and features of the Aristides 080 SR Evertune. Now I'm going to show you what this guitar sounds like by itself because I know some of you will want to hear what it sounds like not in a full demo mix. So let's take a listen, shall we? Real quick, before I move on to showing you how this guitar sounds, I just wanted to mention that I am tuned to drop E tuning, which is pretty much the standard for what I use most of the time on 8 strings. And for the rhythm tone, you are going to be hearing a plugin called the 1111 by Auto Audio. This plugin is awesome and it is specifically designed for low-tuned heavy guitars, which is pretty much perfect for the channel because that's almost all I do at this point. I did use the 1111 in conjunction with the Neural DSP Archetype Gojira plugin, but only a little bit. I have that at the front of the chain just for the pitch shift effects because I go all the way down to double drop A, and I also have the tube screamer from that plugin in before the 1111 plugin, but the majority of the tone is from the 1111 plugin. So if you like how this tone sounds, you can try out the 1111 plugin for free using the link in the description or the pinned comment below, and if you try it and you like it, you can get 50% off using the discount code on the screen right now. So if you like how it sounds, be sure to check out that link, and let's hear how the guitar sounds. Okay, and last but not least, it's time to tell you my thoughts and opinions on this guitar. Now again, like I said, Aristides did send this guitar over to me, but I don't get to keep it. They're not paying me, nothing like that. However, I might be a little bit biased because I am a fan of their instruments, but I assure you that doesn't matter because this guitar is perfect, and I would honestly expect it to be for the amount of money that these guitars cost. These are not cheap instruments. I believe that if you spec'd this one out yourself, it would be well over 3,000 euros, possibly a little bit closer to 4,000 euros. I'll put the exact number on the screen right now. So yeah, when you're paying that much money for any guitar, I would expect nothing less than perfection, and I'm very happy that Aristides delivered on this yet again. Again, I'm kind of not surprised because I have 4 of their other guitars, and every single time I've been absolutely blown away by the quality, and it is always up to par with what I expect when you're spending that much money. The main reason that I wanted to try this out, of course, was for the Evertune. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a massive fan of this bridge and system. I already have one in my other guitar that I use live. And one of the most common questions I get asked on this channel all the time is if I prefer straight scale or fan fret for 8-string guitars. As you can see, I have a variety of 8-string guitars in the background that are all over the place. Some are straight scale, some are fan fret. I have a lot of experience with both. And my answer has pretty much always been, I do prefer the feel of multi-scale or fan fret instruments for 8 strings in particular, but the Evertune is so important that if the choice comes between the two, I would pick the Evertune just because I like having my guitar not go out of tune, especially when I'm playing live. So obviously you can see where this is going. That's why I was so interested in this guitar once Aristides announced that they were allowing this as an option on future builds. I really wish I had this on my personal Fanfret 8-string over there because I think this is awesome. You are literally getting the best of both worlds. It feels way better because of that multi-scale build, but it's also going to stay in tune because of that Evertune. It's like awesome, and I am so looking forward to seeing if other guitar brands also offer something like this in the future, or if Evertune themselves comes out with an official version of a fan fret bridge, which I think they have to now at this point. Like, there's no way that they won't, because they've seen how successful this is, how many people are interested in getting something like this. Evertune would kind of be foolish to not make one themselves, in my opinion. So this time around, I have pretty much nothing negative to say at all. The Evertune bridge works exactly like you would think it would. Again, I'm very familiar with this bridge. I have it on a bunch of other guitars, 6 strings, 7 strings, 8 strings, all over the place. I'm very familiar with how this bridge works and how it should sound and feel, and this feels no different, which in this case is a great thing to discover. My worst fear was that this would act a little bit differently because, again, it is a bit of a hybrid between official Evertune parts and Aristides' own parts, but they seem to hit the nail on the head with this one, and it acts and behaves just like any other Evertune should. And I love that. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So again, an Evertune paired with the stability of the Arium body, which already doesn't really move around pretty much at all because it's not made out of wood. This is going to be pretty much the most in-tune guitar that you can probably get on the market, in my opinion. So with all that being said, I am obviously very happy with how this instrument turned out. I really wish I got to keep it. I really don't want to give it back to them. Aristides, if you change your mind, hit me up. I would love to take this off your hands. And that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. If you're interested in learning any more about Aristides guitars, the link to them is going to be in the description and the pinned comment below. I also want to give a big thank you to all my Patreon members whose names are on the screen at this point in time. If you're interested in audio downloads, guitar tabs, stems, or a shout out on the screen like these lovely people here, you can get all of that over on my Patreon page. I look forward to your comments. That's all I got to say for now, and I'll see you later.